make sure we don't lose too much time. Anyways, the main things that we want to get done today / this week are our escape game. Now, they should almost be done for the most part. You may be finishing up some debugging. There may be a few little things that you are finishing. But the main points of the game that we wanted to finish is, for example, we wanted to be able to collect all of them. So when you collect all of the items, then you should have a way to tell if all the items are counted, which will bring you to your win screen. There's different ways you could do this with a counter, or as we're using an object variable. We have those object variables for each one of the items that we have. We have a .found property, because how object variables work is that we can have a variable. I can call it ball. And with the ball variable, I can have multiple different kind of think of them as miniature variables. For example, I could create like a size variable and set it to 12. Keep in mind that even though that it's a variable called size, it actually doesn't immediately change the size. It's just the name of the variable. And then I could have another one called, height. I could call it, 4. I could have many different variables inside one. And we refer to the main variable in this sense as an object. We call these keys, and we call the items in those keys values. And this here is an object. This is how object variables work. You just have multiple different keys inside one object. It's just that it works like a variable, so we call it an object variable. But yeah, that was one of the main learning points from this game. There was a few more as well. Arguments and parameters, being able to send information to a function and being able to turn that information into a variable for the function to work. An example of this can be seen when we click on an item. We were working on a click event to where, for example, let me change the screen here. Transition. For example, I, on my game, have the grab item, which has the current item. When I click on an item, it passes the item as its argument, and the parameter is that variable of the argument. And this variable here is actually used within the function. So a parameter is kind of just like creating a variable that is temporarily being used for the function. And an argument is a variable that you send to a function. For example, whenever we click on an item, we are sending that as an argument into the said function. Those were just the learning points of the game. How are your games going? Would you say that you're about done?
We're both having trouble with the final part.
I'm having trouble with putting the with the grab item part. And also displaying them. When it was 1, it was easy. It only showed up on 1. Now with 3 variables, only one of them is showing, and it's showing on all screens.
Only one of them is showing at a time?
No, there's only one of them that's showing on all 3 screens, and I'll just show you.
Well, the how we get it to show is with the ifs. So do you have an if for if more than one item is found? For example, I have if the second item is found and if the other item is found.
I didn't do a bar where you put it there. I'll show you.
Okay.
My computer moves a little bit faster than a glacier. So and it's going to show this key. It's just going to keep on showing it. And if I click it, nothing happens. It's supposed to just disappear, but nothing at all is happening.
Okay, so do you have a function that does something if the found property of the item is true?
Right here. And
If
if
game item dot tap. I don't think that works.
and if it's true, 1 second, yeah.
If game item dot found and if game item 2 dot found and game item 3 dot found, then you will fill the screen with a variable called orange, and you will display text saying you won. Okay. I just feel like the if statement you have all the way at the top might not work. Not that one. The if game item dot tap. Because I don't think that's how you can use the tap. I don't know if the dot tap is a Boolean.
Okay.
So how a dot tap works is that it's an action. It's not a. It doesn't return anything. All it does is create an event. For example, on my screen, I have a dot tap, and its job is to. I'm gonna zoom in. Not too much. The job of my dot tap is to call a function. For example, left arrow dot tap calls the function move left. If I tap on an item, it calls a function called grab item. Dot tap does not return true or false, so we cannot use it inside of an if statement. We can only use a dot tap when we call a function or if we want something to change. It cannot, it cannot just return anything. All it does is call something. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So when you use your dot taps, what you're going to do is you're going to call a function that you create, and that function is going to be the thing that turns your item dot found to true. Because we're going to pass in the item as the parameter, and we're going to have that parameterized variable be set true for its found, because we don't have to specify that it's item 4, item 5, because any item that's passed in will be transformed into this universal variable called item that we can just set its value true. Because when we set item.found, for example, if I click on item 2, it would set the second item's found to true. And it would only do it to that one because that is the one that I clicked on. And then if I click on the other item, it will send that variable in as an argument. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
The dot tap just can't, it doesn't work as an if statement. It just doesn't return anything. But yeah, so if you do it this way, then you'll be able to click on one and then click on the other. But notice that even if you click on the items, you still need a way to constantly check if the found values are true or not. Because if we were to use a click event to determine that, it would only check whenever we click, and that's not how we want a game to work. We want a game to be constantly checking for a value. So what we did last week, if you remember, is we created a function loop, and we created an if playing variable, which basically states that this loop will not check until the game has started, because obviously none of the variables have been created in the title screen yet. So if we were to run this within the entire app, it would give us an error saying that item 4 and item 2 are not They don't exist. So we need to make sure that we have some type of variable, like a Boolean, for example, that I have, that determines if, that we will run this once we create all the variables. Because if I scroll up to the top of my game screen, I set that playing value to true at the end of the game screen when I already created all of my items. So it already knows what the items are. So I don't have to worry about it because it will become true once all the items have been created. And then I will be constantly checking if item 4 is found and item 2 is found because the loop function runs forever. It's like always checking. So whenever you have something in your code that you always want to check, you always use a loop function because it's just the best way to always be checking because it will always run forever until you kind of tell it not to. But you got to kind of force it not to. It will always try to run. It's just that if you tell it not to run at a certain time, it won't. For example, if I were to put something up here, it would run that constantly. Like if I were to say stamp, and then I start the game, it would constantly be putting in a lot of stamps because if I do just the word stamp, it puts in a random stamp. And because it's a loop function, it will constantly be adding so many different types of stamps, like all the different types of stamps, to be honest. So the function loop will always run, but if we give it an if statement, then it won't run what's in the if statement until the if statement is true. So that I just wanted to show that the loop function actually does always run. It's just that we can kind of tell it to not run certain things until a certain amount of time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Second, something just some. For some reason, it wants me to put, and now wants me to put var background instead of just not putting anything now.
Show me your screen. I don't understand what var background is.
To announce a variable.
To announce a variable?
Yeah, if I'm going to put that there, it's going to say background is not defined. Am I presenting?
No, you are not. I'm waiting.
Okay, there.
Okay. It says background is not defined, line 1. So obviously this is because of a change that you added. Okay, that did something. Get underscore item is not defined. Yeah. So is that a function you created?
Yeah.
Okay, so I see the function. You have function get item 1, and get item 2. Can you bring me down there again? Okay, so you only really need one get item, and then when you create that get item, every function needs curly brackets, and that's one thing you're missing.
Ooh, yeah.
So, for example, get rid of function get item 2 and get item 3. All you need is the first get item stuff. So get rid of lines 49 to 53. That was 46. I meant 49 to 53.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You just undo by clicking Control Z. Okay, so lines 49 to 53. Yeah. Okay, and then in the parentheses of get item, what I want you to do is I want you to create a variable called get underscore item, or get game underscore item. So type the word game underscore item inside the parentheses. What this will do is it will create a that will be your parameter. So no matter what item you click on, all the variables will become game item once they go into the function, and then it will set its value to true or false.
1 second. I may oops. Just be out of there and have its own curly bracket. Okay.
Okay, so now it's saying that there's a random curly bracket somewhere. Or get is not defined on line 17. Equals get item. That should work. Get rid of line 18 and 19 because it probably doesn't know what those are right now. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, and then whenever you want to make other items hide, you're going to use that same variable, or not the same variable, the same function. For example, if you had game item 2, you would do game underscore item 2.tap equals get item. You wouldn't need to change the function name because the function has been created to where you can use it multiple times.
Okay.
Yep, there you go. You're going to change the get to get.
Okay, and still only showing the first key.
Okay, so that's got to be a problem with how you change your screens and how you show the items per screen. So, yeah.
I was doing it with this before, and it just had yellow going predominantly, so I decided to just make, if the background is a certain background, it will show, otherwise it won't. Anyway, I'll change that. And where is there? Come on. What? Which one's the green?
Orange and red.
Which one's the?
How's your brother doing with his zombie code?
You should show.
Okay. So with my game, you can actually beat it right after you join it. But people playing my game probably aren't going to know that.
Okay, can you show me it? Okay, so start up the game. Or does it just start with the word you escaped?
No.
Okay.
Of course not.
Okay.
There we go. So you press play, but my computer is slow.
Okay.
So it's going to take some time to load. There we go. It's loading. And now this is how you actually win the game. But this is how most people will think that you have to win the game. I'm about to show you it.
Come on.
Okay.
When really told, you could just click on it.
So you don't actually need the items to escape, but if you click on the items, you can escape anyways.
Yes.
Oh, it's because you put a door.tap equals win. I see. Okay.
Pretty much it's a function of how curious they are.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
they just started by pressing the door,
They would
they're
win.
smart. They would win immediately.
All right. All right. That's not bad. All right. So we just need the underwater game to be finished, and then we will all be good. So I think the reason why your game, or actually, so your keys aren't appearing where you want them to, right?
Now they aren't.
Now they aren't.
Now they're just appearing, and I can collect them, but then they're. Which one was this?
Because now that you clicked on an item, it will hide it because it was found. So go to your was it the where the item tap happens, the function for your item tab, get item. So notice that in get item, you're setting game item dot hide. It will hide it for that screen, but if you have another function that makes it show, it will still show up. So what you need to do inside where you show and hide your items for each screen,
I got
you
it.
need to
I think I know what to do.
yeah, you need to do a if game item dot found show or hide else show. And then you need the specific game item. For example, game item 2 dot found. You use 2. You're going to use 2 equals. 1 equals is setting it. 2 equals is asking a question. And then you're going to put an else. Don't forget the parentheses for hide. There you go.
Okay, now it's not showing at all.
If game data found equals false, true. Else, if it's true, you want to hide. Mine isn't finished. Is that the wood? Sorry, I can't tell by your username. Yeah. Oh, DeWood. I didn't know you were here. Okay. So your game is not done. Okay. So, what part of your game isn't done? So, what I've went over with you guys previous sessions, at least what I've helped you with, is let me transition. I've shown you how to create the get item function using the arguments and parameters, to where if you were to create an item, and then you would say that item dot tap would equal a grab function, where you would then, in the grab function, you would specify the variable like items, and then you would, in that function, set the items dot found equal to true. I also showed how you can change the screens for each screen. I showed that, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, how if I created a function for each screen. I created a function for the left, the center, and the right. And depending on where I click, it would bring me to that certain screen. I will show you the example of what I showed back then as well. If I were to go here, I have it will delay the center screen. So it will run where I'm in the center. And then depending on where I click, if I click the left arrow, it will move me left because I've called the move left function. So it will run this function, which shows a different screen, and it moves items differently depending on their location. It hides the left arrow because I'm all the way at the left of the screen. And then if I click on the right arrow in this move left function, it will bring me to the center screen. So it brings me back to the center. It shows both of the arrows. So that's why it has a left arrow dot show and a right arrow dot show. And keep in mind, I always call the move items function, for me at least, because in my code, how I make my items appear is with a function that I created to move the items around. You didn't need to do this. It was an optional thing. But you should have functions that bring you from left, right, and center screens. And then depending on those screens, you hide certain items or show certain items. And then you also have items.tap, like an item.tap. So for example, I have item 4 and item 2. If I tap on those items, it will call a function, grab item. And this is what I've been talking about for probably a month and a half now, parameters and arguments. If I click on item 4, it will take item 4 into the grab item function. In the grab item function, this item is item 4 in disguise. We just called it item now. And we're setting item 4's found property that we set earlier, the object variable, which we also talked about. Object variables, how they work, is that they have multiple keys, and those keys have values. For example, this ball object has 2 keys. It has size and height. Now, keep in mind that these variables don't actually change the size or height. They're just names of the variable. and we give those keys values. For example, the size is 12 and the height is 4. And all of them are connected to ball. And we could find the ball dot height by typing ball dot height. And then it would show 4. So that's an example of that. So item.found equals true. So when we click on that, it will set the item's value to true. And I was explaining earlier that I create a function loop, which always runs. I gave an example of typing stamp, which what it does is it gives a random stamp. And because the function loop always runs, it will constantly run that stamp function. So it will constantly add more and more variables, or not variables, more and more stamps. So the loop function is always running. So that's why we use the function loop in order to determine if the item is found or not. Notice I have right here, if playing, that's keeping the code from running always. Because if I were to get rid of the if playing, if I were to comment that out right here, like that, I would get an error. It says, cannot read property found. That's because the item doesn't have its found property when the code starts. It's within the game function where it's actually created. So if I look up into my game function, which is right here, function game, once I create all my found items, I set a playing variable to true, because keep in mind in the beginning, I set that playing variable to false. I set it to true once I create all my found variables, which I set every single one of them to false because they have not been clicked yet. Once I click on the item, that found variable will equal true. And then because I'm playing the game, the function will run asking if the items are found, which I have an and because it's asking if the first item is found and if the second item is found. So if both of these are true, if both this is true and this is true, then it will run the function. If this is false and this is true, it will not run. And works because both items need to be true. An or would work to where one item would work. For example, if I were to do two, I believe they call them tubes, but if I were to click on one item, it would say congrats you won, because how an or works is one item can be true and one item could be false. But that's not how we want the game to work. I want both items to be true, so we use 2 ampersands. 2 ampersands means and. So if I click on both items now, if I click on the bacon and the bread, I will now win because both items are true. So it will show the win screen, which all it has is a reset, bill, and text, congrats, you won. That was most of what I've covered previously in the past couple of weeks. I don't really think there's anything new in my game. So what part of your game isn't complete, Dawood? Dawood? Okay, so I want to make sure that you two brothers have your games completed. If you do, then we can move on to the next thing, which is creating a presentation for the game. Dawood, I can't help you if you don't communicate with me. So if you don't tell me that you have a problem on the day that you have a problem, it's going to keep being a problem until the end of the class, which is today. So if you felt like you were behind at all throughout this entire class, I want next game that we work on, I want to make sure you communicate when you don't understand something or when you fall behind, so it doesn't become a problem to where you're missing lots of code. Okay? So next game, we're just going to kind of start anew with a new game and new concepts. So I want to make sure that you pay attention with the computer we provided you, as well as asking questions if you don't understand something. Because if you don't understand something and you don't ask questions, you're gonna fall really behind real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the next part of this class, which is the presentations. After every single game we create, our job will be to create a presentation for it. These presentations I've gone over before. I've gone over how to create I've gone over the 4 C's, and I will go over how to create a presentation. We're going to spend the rest of today working on creating presentations for the game that we have created. If they're finished or not, we need to move on to the next game. So this is how the presentation works. We have 4 slides in total. Each slide tells a little bit about you and what your game's about. For example, slide 1 is the introduction. It introduces who you are to the viewer. The key point of a presentation is to be able to explain something to people who don't know it. That is the main reason why there's speech classes, as well as for some reason public speaking is the number 1 fear. That's also why they have a lot of classes on it. But the main point of public speaking is to express something that you have lots of knowledge on to people who don't. And you guys have been spending a lot of time coding your games, so you have a lot more knowledge than, say, your parents do, because they may know a lot about coding, but you know a lot about Bitsbox because you've been spending all this time working with Bitsbox. So the first slide is to introduce who you are. Usually the title of the slide is the name of the game I've seen before. For example, my game is called Escape Game. So my title for my introduction would be Escape Game. And then I would say, hello, my name is Steven. The name or what I'm presenting about is my escape game. Then also look here, I have my name, my grade, and my class. I would say I'm Steven. I am in the 17th grade. I am in the Coding 301 class learning JavaScript. And then you would continue into your next slide, which is about the description of the game. Now, the description covers mainly just describing your game. You described who you are and what class you're in. Now describe more about what your game is. For example, we have the escape game. You can talk about the origin of how the game came to be. We created the game for a certain reason, so you will, detail the origin of it as well as how did you add your own element into it. Some people may not know what Bitsbox is, so you can explain what Bitsbox is. Some people may not know JavaScript, so you can explain what JavaScript is. The whole point of a presentation is to explain stuff people don't know to those people. So slide 2 is about describing the game. You're going to get into detail about how the game works. What's the game mechanics? Is there a win scenario? What are the controls? These are things that you will describe in slide 2. Slide 3, you're going to describe a piece of code. So usually what I tell students is that this is where you're going to use the snipping tool. The snipping tool is a tool for Microsoft that allows you to take screenshots of specific areas on your screen. You're going to be using this tool in order to take a snipping of your code. It doesn't have to be the entire code. I want it to be probably like 2 to 5 lines. Just let it be a code that you understand, because the goal of this presentation is to be able to make it sound like you know what you're talking about, which you should. So take a snip of some code that you understand, and you will just explain how the code works and operates. For example, it could be like an if statement, it could be a function and such. Just be able to explain code, because being able to explain things will make you seem like you know what you're talking about, which, like I said, you should know what you're talking about. So Slide 3 is just about making sure that the audience knows you know what you're talking about. By explaining a piece of code, makes yourself look more professional. Slide 4 describes what you have learned. So you're just going to go over the things that we learned, which in the beginning of this class, I went over our learning topics, which you guys can put in here. When you put something you learned, for example, I would say function and variable. You know, I learned what a function is and I learned what a variable is. I don't want you just to say that. I want you to explain what a function is, what a variable is, what is an object variable, what is an argument. Explain the things that you have learned, because if you just state that you learned it, that's not telling me that you learned it. That's telling me you learned what a word is. Explain what is the word, and then I will know that you know what the topic means. Also, at the 4th slide, I want you to add a link to your game. And I will explain how to add the link again. I believe I did like 2 weeks ago, but I will do it once again. Inside Bitsbox, on the top right, you will see like a little arrow thing. It looks, I don't know what to explain. It's like a share button. It's a universal share icon. Click that, and then there will be a copy link right here, that link. I want you to click on these 2 documents right here. Once you click that, it will say copied. And you'll be able to, you know, click in your text area, paste some text. But keep in mind, this is underlined and stuff. This isn't. You need to turn this into a link, which you can, I believe you can right-click on it. Yeah. So highlight the text, right-click on it, and then click link. And it'll allow you to paste a link. So I will paste that same link here. Click apply. Now, if I click on it, it will show me the link. And if I click on that, then it will show me the game right here. So yeah, that is the slideshow. Now I'm going to quickly show you the snipping tool. So let me type SNIP. It will show me the snipping tool right here. I will click on it. This is the snipping tool. How it works is that you click new. When you click new, it will gray the entire screen and it will give you like a little highlighter thing. You're going to highlight the top left area to the bottom right area of where you want to snip. For example, if I wanted to snip this word slide for what you learned, I will click new. I will move my cursor to the top left of slide 4 and then move it to the bottom left at the end of what you learned. If I do that, I will get the slide for what you learned. And then I could save this as a document on my computer. And then I could go to insert, image, upload from computer, and then paste that on there. You could also do a copy and paste if you have Google Chrome. I believe that works because the snipping tool does have a copy. And then you could right-click here and click paste. Because I don't have Google Chrome, it's giving me this, oh, I need the extension in order to do this, which I might quickly do. I might not do though. But yeah, so that's how you would add a snip. I also want 1 picture per slide. It has to be a picture that is about the game. I've shown before, but how you could accomplish this is that you could like search from web. You type JavaScript. And then, there's some nice icons here that you could add. This one is, there we go. This big JavaScript icon. Just things that you can include. So yeah, that is the layout of the presentation. We're going to be spending the rest of today working on this, which we have about 30 minutes left. So I want you guys to probably spend about 15 minutes working on your presentations, and we can see if we can get the presentations done, or we might use the rest of the time today to finish up our games for our presentations tomorrow. What do you guys feel like? Do you want to present today, or do you want to present tomorrow and finish up your code and your presentation today?
Tomorrow, sorry. I forgot.
Not tomorrow, sorry. I meant next week, not tomorrow.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah. I'm gonna be busy tomorrow. It's Easter. But yeah, so next week, we will present then, if you guys want that. I can do it next week. Okay, so we're going to spend the rest of the time today working on our presentation, which I will kind of leave it up here, right there, the first 4 slides. I believe you guys can see that. So the first 4 slides, you guys need to work on these slides today. Try to design them and add a lot of detail to them. Not too much detail. I don't want full sentences, usually bulletin points, and then those bulletin points will help remind you of what you talk about. So make sure you work on your presentations and finish up your games so your games can be complete and they can work for next week. If you guys need help with your games, let me know. Share your screen so I can see what's up with your game, and then I will try to help. I'm not going to obviously give you the immediate answer, but I'll help you understand why it's not working. I said I'd keep it on here. Okay. So yeah, Google Slides is usually the thing that you want to use for the presentation. You know, free software, very easy.
No. Because. Why is what?
What's up?
So I have a problem with, for some reason, when number one, I need to get rid of this right here.
Mm-hmm.
But then also I click this and then the red one doesn't show up and the yellow doesn't show up. And if I go over here, the red one shows up instead of the yellow, and nothing else shows up.
Are they all placed within the same area? Like if you, okay, so they're all in the same area. So when you click on it, it might be making all the items disappear because it's pretending like all of them are clicked. So what I did in my game in order to remedy this, because I was afraid of that happening too, is that I actually moved my items to different locations within each screen. Because what you have is you have them all within the same area in each screen. So they're all technically in the same area. So I was afraid that if you clicked on one item in one screen, it would get rid of that item in all the screens. So I would just try to make sure their locations in each screen are just a little bit different, just to see if that would fix it. If that doesn't fix it, we'll try to look at what the errors are.
Yeah, it was that. They're all there. They're all there, except for the yellow for some reason.
So
Yay,
the
I
green
win.
key, the red key, but no yellow key. Oh wow.
That was number one, right? So it came out of my height or something.
Shut.
So did you create a get item function for each one of your items?
Yeah, not quite. I did the get item, and then where is it? I did a get item with the parameter get item 2 and get item 3.
Well, you don't need that though, because technically they're all the same. Here, change the on line 36, 7, and 8. Change line 36 or 7. Line 36, where it says get game item inside the parentheses, change that to game items with an S. And then do the same for line 37 and 38. Okay, now see what happens. Nothing really changes. So I don't think this is due to the get items function. I think this is due to the way you're showing your items and hiding your items. I think that's a common thing that we're finding in your game. Background equals underwater floor.
So green isn't supposed to be shown. So green is showing it the wrong one. So it's number 3. So green is in the complete wrong place. That's weird. Green should be in this screen, but it's not in that screen. And okay.
So green's appearing in the center screen, but if you click on an arrow, it will hide it within every screen.
Yeah.
Which key is the green one? Is it key 3?
It's item 3, and it's key 4.
Item 3, key 4. Okay. So game underscore item 3, and then you have dot tap equals get item.
Oops.
That's a good way to find it using the find key. So you're setting a found variable to false. You're saying if tap equals get item. Anything else? Telling it to hide in there. You're telling it to hide.
1 second. Come on. That'd be this screen. And next one would be hiding in this. It would be hiding in this screen. This one, it would be showing in this screen instead of hiding. Then,
well, where's that dot show?
If it's found, then it should hide. Otherwise, it should show.
Then maybe it's found, and that's why it's not showing up. Try moving your keys away from the big green button that you click in the beginning. Because it's appearing in the center screen. Why is it appearing there? That's the next question we need to ask ourselves. So go to the top of your code. And you have your var. So what I want you to do is when you create your variables, on line 2, 4, and 6, I want you to do a dot hide at the end of those lines. 2, 4. Okay, no, where it says 2, 4, and 6, where it shows game item equals stamp. At the end of that line, add a dot hide. That will hide it for when it creates it, and it will show up when the screens are loaded. Don't forget the parentheses. Now try it. Now it's hiding it. Now what you need to do is add a way for it to show.
And
it's not showing the green one.
It's not showing the green or the yellow key, and it's showing the red one in the wrong side and all of them now.
So you added a way to where it hides in the beginning, but it shows when you click the right screen. So you need to add a way that it hides itself in the other left side screens.
I did. It's here. I said hide. Oh, I think I found it. Right here.
How you guys doing?
Wait, no, it's him. He's doing good. Mine is not going well.
Have you shared your screen with your teacher?
Yeah. I'm helping him out right now.
Okay. Hey, how you doing?
Doing great.
You think they are learning?
Yeah. I hope they are at least.
Now, do you think they are doing their work?
Yeah, I can tell on the islands that they are doing the islands, and I can tell that they are doing some coding away from class because I always see that there's new stuff added every week.
Okay. All right, because
New content
we were
has
we were
been added.
we were having a fight. Is it yesterday or this morning? Yesterday, about how much work he is doing stuff. Why is it showing up on your own screen?
Action screen. I'm presenting it.
Oh, okay. So I just want to make sure that everybody is putting in their best effort. Otherwise, we'll be having some serious conversation.
All right.
So, well, thank you, man. Appreciate you.
No problem.
If you look right where the green's supposed to be, it flickered on and off, and now it's not.
So it should be showing, but it's hiding.
Yeah, it goes on for a second and it flickers off.
So the green is right under the red, right?
Nope. Right under. Yeah, right under. Yeah.
If game item 3 does not hide. Oh, in your else. That's not how you do an else. You don't use parentheses. You use curly brackets. And do that with all your other elses.
Hello.
How are you doing with your work?
That looks good. Now run your code.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not working.
Okay, but at least we fixed that error. Because that was definitely an error because it wasn't running the code because it was in parentheses.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a big function switch background, right? Then whenever you click the left and right arrow, it's calling it, right?
Yep.
So how is it determining when you click on it where it moves? For example, if it clicks the left arrow or the right arrow, how does it know which one's left and which one's right?
Up here, left arrow dot tap equals change background. right arrow dot tap equals switch background.
And what's the difference between change background and switch background? Are they like different functions that have the same code?
Yeah, different with the same code. They're different functions with the same code.
Okay. It's very lengthy the way you're doing it, so I'm trying to understand why it's not working then. So if you click left and right, it will go to either change background or it will go to switch background. Then you're asking if the background variable is a certain thing, then it will change the background variable and then it will do stuff. Then it will hide and show, it will fill, it will tell the game item to hide. Game text, start button, just indenting. That's good. It's always good to indent because 9 times out of 10, the problems with code is that like something's wrongly indented or like you can't see it because of the way the code is. So one easy thing I want you to see is just make sure that the change background function, all the ifs have their corresponding curly brackets and the functions have their curly brackets.
Okay.
So that's delaying the game screen. Game that looks like it has all its curly brackets. Left arrow. Change. Get item. That will get the game items and set them to true. Game items. Wait. Is there anywhere else in your code where you set game item found to false?
No.
Or is it? So okay, this is what we're gonna do. Go up to the top of your code. Oh no, there it is. Okay, so you have game item found equals false. Game item 2 found equal. Okay, so you have it equaling false.
Yeah.
That's what I was worried about.
Oh.
Okay. So let's continue. So change background. If the background equals underwater 4, you're hiding some arrows, showing some arrows. If the game item found equals true, you're telling the game item to hide. Is that the correct game item that you want to hide?
Yes.
Okay, and then it will automatically hide game item 2 and 3. Is underwater 4 or
this is if I click it and background equals underwater 4, then it changes to underwater.
Is that when you click on the right arrow from the center screen?
Yes.
Okay, so that one is working because it's showing the red key when you click on it. So we know that one works.
Wait, no, that should be the yellow key.
It should be the yellow key that shows up, but it's showing the red key.
Wait, and that's actually for when it turn. I think that's for when I click the left arrow. When I click the left arrow and it turns to.
There's the red key. Okay, restart the program and then click the right arrow instead of the left arrow. Will it show the red key as well?
Yep.
Okay, so here we have our error. It's doing it's running one if no matter what. And that if is that only one that seems to work. So keep in mind how a series of ifs work is if one is true, then it will ignore the rest. So for some reason, the if background equals underwater 4 is always being true. And it's never changing to a different background. Even though you show it to be changing, it's not actually changing it. And so it's always running the first if statement and ignoring the rest.
That's weird.
So what I'm going to tell you to do. What's up?
First I think I should maybe if I move it down under. Never mind.
What I would do is what I did, which is a little bit easier. You're using ifs. what I did is I created a function for each screen, and then I told the items within that function to move to certain areas. So if I click on the left arrow from the center screen, it will move to the left screen. And then it will call the left screen, and then I could do certain things inside this left screen. It's a little easier to manage because it's not being controlled by a series of if statements that are overlapping each other, because it will only run something if I tell it to run. Meanwhile, in an if statement, it will check to see if one thing's true and ignore the rest. Or I say with this, yeah. So what I would recommend doing is seeing if you can change your ifs into like 3 functions: a function for your center screen, a function for your left screen, and a function for your right screen, and see if you can get this to work. If we run out of time today, I'll send you my code so you can reference that for your screens. Because I feel like the way that you have your if statements is, like I said, the top if statement is keeping the other ifs from running because it's always, for some reason, being true.
But the weird thing, the top if statement would hide the top if statement would hide the red key instead of showing it.
And which?
This is the top if statement.
Okay, which one shows the red key then?
Down here, switch background. Yeah, right here. This one's the one that shows it.
But switch background is only if you click the which arrow?
Right arrow.
Okay, then what about when you click the left arrow? That's the change background. And which if statement is that in the change background?
When I change back, it's this one. But no, it's actually it's from Underwater 5 to right here.
Okay. So you're telling it if background equals underwater 5, change background to underwater 4. That, and then in the switch background, it's saying if background equals underwater 4, change background to underwater 5.
I just found something. It says it's game item 2, so and it's showing on underwater 4. Oh wait.
What's up?
I think a mistake I made with understanding this. The red key is supposed to show up on the center screen, the green key is supposed to show up on the right screen, and the yellow key is supposed to show up on the left screen.
Do you have a way for items to show up once the center screen is called? Because it looks like... So you're asking if the backgrounds are certain things whenever you click. So that means the items will only appear and disappear when you click the left and right buttons. So when your center screen loads, there's no way to tell if the key is there until, for example, if you were to click the right arrow and then click the left arrow to go back to the center screen, but only then would the key show in the center. So you would need a better way to show the key when the game first loads. There you go. But we still have the error of that item still being shown. Okay, so if you click it there, it hides it. I can see the gold key there, and then it disappears in the left screen.
That's the green key.
I can't see the green key, but I can at least see the gold key. So they're hiding when they're not supposed to. All their found values should be false still because you haven't clicked on them yet. Go to where your .tap equals get item. Okay, so you have it down there.
What? What did you say?
Me?
Yeah.
How about you move your .taps like into the game screen? Or the game function. The game function, I should say.
What?
Okay, so that broke. So it looks like because we moved it to the game screen, it wasn't being clicked on yet. And for some reason you were clicking on it when you were starting your game. I think you know what your error is now, at least. You know why your game's not working. It's because of the if statements. You need to like find out how to make them work better. Right?
Okay.
Okay, so what I expect from you guys for the for homework, let me get a notepad out. Get your notebooks out because it is notebook time. This is Coding 301. Today's date is the 11th of April, Easter Day. So today we were just debugging our games, and we went over presentation. You need to creating presentations. Let me maximize this. So your homework is that you need to do the iLearn module 9, as well as you need to finish your presentations. And your presentations need a intro, a description, a what is it? Talk about a piece of code, and then you have your what I learned. This is what you need for next week. Next week we'll start the class off with you guys probably re-reviewing your presentations that you will have created from your homework, and then we'll present, and then we'll talk about the next game, and we'll maybe start working on the next game. Does that sound good?
Okay.
I'll give you guys like one more minute to like finish writing this down. I want to make sure that you have everything you need to be prepared for next week. I want you guys to make sure your games are like almost complete. If they're not exactly complete, it's fine. At least if there's a way for you to win, that would be fine. So, and then also having your presentations done and making sure that you do your iLearn, which I opened up already. So make sure you do that sometime this upcoming week. Make sure you get your presentations done sometime this week as well. That's all I have for you guys. So if you have this all written down, you can head on out, and I will see you next week for the presentations. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. See you next week.
See you next week.